Welcome to Inside the Realtor Studio, interviews with industry leaders and professionals in real estate. This year, the Tucson Association of Realtors is turning 100 years, 1921 to 2021. We honor our history by conducting interviews of the past presidents of the Tucson Association of Realtors. We'll learn a bit of history by talking to the experts themselves. Today's past president is Gary Best, who served us in 2006. Gary began his real estate career in 1973 in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1975, having relocated to Tucson, Gary has offered commercial real estate services, including sales, leasing, consultations, BPOs, and inspections at a variety of the top commercial firms here in Tucson, and now also in Metro Denver, Colorado. Gary's dedication to his profession through advanced educational pursuits and strong community affiliations continue to serve his clientele to this day. Some of his many accolades in leadership have been 1979, Gary achieved the AAS, Associated Applied Science in Real Estate from Pima Community College with honors. 1987, he's a member of the Tucson Metro Chamber of Commerce Leadership. 1989, was awarded the Small Business Leader of the Year from the Tucson Chamber. 1990, Gary became a certified CCIM. Gary has been active in Tucson Association leadership since 1987. Gary has served as a professional Arizona Professional Standards Mediator from 2003 through 2016. In 2006, he was elected president of the Tucson Association. In 2007, he was awarded the Tucson Realtor of the Year. And in 2015, he was awarded an honorary life membership. Please welcome to Inside the Tucson, please welcome to Inside the Realtor Studio, Gary Best.
Thank you, Steve.
Hey, I had to have one screw up along the way, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's begin with a little bit about real estate before you were president. So where did you hang your license when you were first licensed?
It was a well-known commercial real estate firm in Cleveland, Ohio, Craig and Lang, Free and Smythe, which eventually became part of Grubb and Ellis, and it's probably still going in some form, but probably part of another firm at this point. There's been a lot of shifting with those larger companies.
So you've been 100% dedicated to commercial real estate for your entire career then?
Yes, and I actually was not licensed my first 5 years in the business because I was an employee of a development company.
Oh.
So I actually started in 1969, and it's been commercial real estate ever since. Every once in a while, I have helped, maybe a handful of times, I've helped a good client who wanted me to help acquire a home, a primary residence, and I have done that, and it's worked out okay because I follow the code of ethics and I have a lot of friends, and so it worked out just fine. But my primary business has always been commercial real estate.
So along the way in your career, have you always worked as a solo artist, or have you worked in partnership or as part of a team?
Most of the time I've been solo because I would do things. I would go to lengths that some commercial brokers wouldn't be comfortable with. Like early on in Tucson, I roamed all over the state of Arizona operating agricultural properties. And a lot of commercial real estate people wouldn't want to go to that trouble. But I had a blast. I went all the way from Yuma to Flagstaff, Holbrook, Safford, Wilcox, all over the place. I just really had a blast. I am a product of 5 generations of farmers, dating the original farm was in 1820 in near Greenville, Ohio. So early to rise, early to bed, work like the Dickens, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've always had
So
a great.
now, other than that being a specialty that you did at that one point in time, have you specialized in one area of commercial real estate, or do you tend to work in them all, or how have you done that?
If I'm comfortable with what a client wants to do, I've done office, industrial, retail, agricultural land, office leasing. I have been all over the commercial spectrum, and if I feel like I need to augment my skills and capabilities, either geographically or by property type, then I just collaborate with someone who is in the business that where we have a relationship and a trust, and we do it that way.
So considering that you started in 1979 as a licensed individual, what was the technology of the day?
Technology, there wasn't any. The telephones, when I started, the telephones were on the desk. And I don't think there was even voicemail to start with. I think you had there was a person at the front desk who took all the calls and took the messages if you were not available to talk. So yeah, no handheld mobile phones. No,
Fax
completely.
machines? Not even a fax at that point?
A fax?
Yeah. Were they
Yes.
around yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I didn't operate the fax.
No.
No. And there was a carbon copy made
Yeah.
of every document, right?
Well, let's shift over to your presidency. When you were president, what building were we operating out of?
When I was president, we were in the building on Tucson Boulevard.
Oh, we were? Okay. All right.
Yes. Not very long. It wasn't just, it seems like maybe a year or two before that we moved into that building, but it was probably longer than that. And I was on the committee that helped evaluate the alternatives and decide to move to that building. And I've been proud of that facility ever since. I hate the fact that I can't use it right now. I've been self-confined for a year, and no traveling and no restaurants, no meetings. Everything is virtual. Quite a contrast to when I started.
Oh, yeah.
And I missed going to meetings a lot.
But you've stayed healthy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good.
I've had my first vaccine, and I get my second vaccine next week. And my wife, Georgia, gets her vaccine, her first one on Monday. So yeah, but we're being very careful.
Yeah. So that building, when we first got it, and that, considering that it was originally a Safeway supermarket, how much of a remodel did you guys have to do?
Well, we had a developer, Dean Kotlow was the developer, and he renovated the building for us after we acquired it. I think he was the agent who represented the building when we first considered purchasing it, and then he agreed to fix it up for us. And in all of my memory, I mean, there may have been recent changes to the building, but I think it's pretty much the way he fixed it up to start with. It has served, I think, my observation is, it has served the association very well all these years. And one of our main drivers was having our facility more accessible to more of the members and be close to what we thought was the center of town, the center of Tucson at that point in time. So every time I drive by it, I admire the presence, and I also admire the flagpole that was dedicated in honor of Harvey Mortka, also a past president, who wanted to have us do that. And that's also a nice feature of the building.
Yeah. Well, the floor plan, I don't think has changed much.
No.
They've upgraded facilities in there, like the conference room. They brought in more modern things to make it more desirable for rental and that sort of thing. They were actually considering making some changes right before COVID did, just in terms of, and again, making it more accessible for members. So they were going to get rid of the store and turn that more like into a lounge area, sort of to meet clients and that at the association. I imagine that'll all happen within the next year. But the nice thing about that corner now too is that it's gone through its own renaissance, and everything is being built new around it. So yeah. So
yeah, it's been a nice spot.
Yeah. So when you were president, who was your CEO?
It was Rick Hodges.
Oh, okay. And how was the staff at that point in time? Who all was there, and what all were we covering? And do you remember?
Well, I think that Christine Sanchez or Christine, is that
Sherry Meadows, maybe?
Sherry.
Yeah.
Sherry was the prime staff person at that time. Yes, I'm sorry, my memory failed me. And
well, we're also used to Christine at this point. It feels like she's been there for a real long time, and she has actually. But
yes, she's done a very good job. The two staff members that I worked most with after Sherry was Annalisa and Christine, and I don't even know if they were there 14 years ago, but I think they were.
Annalisa probably was.
Yeah. And they always did a great job helping all the members and the staff and the leadership.
Yeah. So how did you get involved in association leadership?
Actually, it was when we were on Swan Road, and I think Russell Long, when he was president, invited me, and I don't remember exactly what the interaction was, but I was interested in getting involved, and he made me feel very welcome, and that's when I started participating, and that had to have been a long time ago, because we have been out of that building on Swan for a very long time.
Yeah.
It was a great experience.
And so did you have anybody in leadership that you looked up to, or a mentor that you worked with?
Gosh, there have been so many wonderful people over the years that have been involved as directors and officers, and volunteering their time to do all the things that they could do for the good of the association. And I have learned from all of them, including you. That was a great meeting. I remember going to a planning meeting with you, and there was some contentiousness, because there's always things that we have to deal with. They're a little uncomfortable for some folks that are around the table, but we had a great conversation and a great meeting, and we got a lot done, and we moved on, which is what we always do.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So
welcome.
2006, so you're in as president right after we came off probably the busiest year in some time. It's always the bar that we all set things, but what were you doing in 2005? Not answering the phone because you were too busy selling property, but
Right.
so what accomplishments or challenges did you run into in your year as president?
Well, the the biggest challenge that I had as president was there was a the person in charge of the staff, the AE, was in a transition, and there was a board member who had a conflict of interest, and we worked through it, but that was one of the most challenging conversations that we had at the table when I was there. And then we also got involved in supporting the transportation bond issue for the city of Tucson. And we had a very active rate pack process. And Steve Huffman was running for the legislature during that time.
Okay.
And so we just heaved to and did what we needed to do. And, in reflection, it all worked out just fine. And we kept moving forward ever since.
Did we win that, the transportation initiative?
Yes, we did. Yes,
All
we
right.
did.
I was there when we didn't on another one.
Yeah. Well, it took a long time, and of course, collecting the revenues and building the roads that were planned is still going on, which kind of blows me away. But it's the nature of how things like that have to evolve. It just takes a long time to raise the money, and takes a long time to design, and the designs keep changing, the laws keep changing, the traffic keeps changing. So you just have to adapt and keep moving forward.
Yeah. Now, along the way, did you serve on any AAR or NAR committees?
Oh, yes. Yes, I got more involved after I was involved during my presidency. I would go to those meetings and got acquainted with all the staff in Phoenix, and I actually became a regional vice president of the association after being the president. And then I got involved in the dispute resolution processes and training, which I really enjoyed. One of my proudest moments was I asked the current AE for a letter of recommendation regarding my dispute resolution, and she wrote me a letter, and she'd actually quantified that I had an 83% success ratio during that 13 years. And I really enjoyed that process. And that's a lot how I do my business as well, is trying to help people understand, the opposing points of view when we're doing business. And my long held sense of when things can't work or don't work between parties in any kind of a transaction, it's largely due to a lack of understanding. And so if we can get people to understand the opportunity and trying to be fair to all concerned, which is another big mantra for me, it usually works out just fine. I remember the two cases that didn't work out, and it was two people that came to mediation who had no intention of compromising on anything. Charge.
Yeah. Well, and Carol Ridley just retired this year at the end
Oh,
of
she
last year.
did.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't
So
know. It's awesome. Yeah,
she's an institution, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't know if they've hired anyone yet. They will, I'm sure, shortly to head it up. But yeah, I've been a proud member of the Pro Standards Committee for some time, and in fact, we just had our training this past week. I think they do a lot of good. And what surprises me is how many cases in the last year and year and a half have come up. The numbers are growing exponentially, and that's just kind of amazing. But Ombudsman is taking care of most of it. So
Interesting.
yeah,
That's it. Well, I'm not surprised. There's so many changes that have occurred in people's expectations and the way we do business, and Arizona is I'm thinking being overwhelmed with all the people moving from other places to come to a place where the climate is easier, and but it causes over time a lot of change has to be considered, because the people that show up have a different idea about how they want things to be.
yeah.
So interesting.
So any other thoughts about your term while you were in office?
Well, I had a blast, and I still have a blast whenever I get together with realtors for the common purpose, which is helping other people and doing as well as we can do. And I've enjoyed it so much, and I have no intention of not ever being a realtor. I'll be a realtor until the end.
Good deal. That's what we
And
like to hear.
I will participate as long as I can and as much as I can.
Yeah. Hopefully with those shots and a few 100 million of us also getting those, you'll be out and about before you know it.
I'm hoping mid-year maybe I'll be able to be there with you all, and I'm excited just to be thinking about it. But the reality is I can't get my family to support a plane ticket right this minute.
Well, we actually had to postpone one interview. Tom Sloyan and his
Oh,
wife both contracted COVID, and he's doing well. But when
oh,
I first called him
good.
about this, he goes, I don't know, I'm not feeling well, and I've just been tested. And I said, you take care, I'll be back in touch. And yeah, so he's on the mend and feeling well. So we got his interview done. So I was happy about that. So believe it or not, we
Very
are
good.
about at the end of our interview. And what I like to do at the end is I do 7 quick questions, and I'm hoping for 7 quick answers.
Go ahead.
So what's your favorite word?
My favorite word. My favorite word. It's 2 words. It's polysyllable profundity. Those are long words with
Yes,
many
they are.
syllables that are usually not understood.
Yes, I would say so. Are you going to give an explanation?
Right.
And what's your least favorite word?
Dirty words that some people think it's okay to use,
Okay.
especially when they have sexist overtones. I dislike. I frequently have to listen to diatribe that I don't particularly want to listen to, but I just listen and then try to move on.
Yeah. Well, what turns you on?
What turns me on? Successfully helping another person accomplish their objectives.
Okay. And what turns you off?
What turns me off? When I'm not feeling good for some reason. It's a little known fact, but I never had any surgeries until I moved to Denver, and I've had 4 surgeries on my basal cell uh,
Oh,
because of my exposure to the sun in Tucson. But I have no regrets about it. Got it squared away.
good, good. Yeah, yeah. They like to run experiments on us because we've been so sun efficient out here. Well,
Exactly.
so what profession other than real estate would you have liked to have attempted?
Well, I did attempt it and I enjoyed it, and it was being an insurance investigator,
Oh,
because it's essentially I incorporate that process in virtually every real estate transaction. I read the material and I go to the property and I drive around the property, and I'm always seeing things that I don't understand and other people don't understand, just trying to figure it out. And investigating people is these were insurance investigations, usually people buying insurance, and the companies wanted profiles. They wanted to understand who it was that they were about to insure. And so they would hire this company that I worked for. And again, I traveled around a lot, covered a wide geography, and just had a good time interacting with people in that process.
was there any other profession that you didn't get a chance to try that you wanted to try?
Oh, more than one. Uh, more than one. What would flying an airplane has always been an appealing idea. And my daughter jumped out of an airplane over the Royal Gorge more than once when she was a young girl, and skydiving. And I asked my wife one time when she was planning her next trip, I said, I think I'd like to go jump out of that airplane with Heather on that ride. My wife's response, oh no, you're not going to do that. No. We're going to keep you here, keep you safe, and hope Heather will be safe as well, but no.
And is there a profession out there that you're super glad you didn't attempt?
That I didn't attempt. Well, I did attempt it, but I was not at it very long, and that was data processing equipment sales.
Oh,
And I was in the Air Force, and I was in the data processing installation, although I didn't run the equipment. But there has been so much change with how data is processed and understood. I mean, it's overwhelming. And no, I'm glad I didn't last long at that.
well, in closing, if you could do a shout out to anybody living or not in the real estate community, who would it be and why?
Well, my favorite person of all time is Judy Lowe as Commissioner of Real Estate. She was at the table when we were doing strategic planning in 1993, and we became much better acquainted at that point. And when she knew that I was being bought out of the company with my name on it, she said, why don't you come over to Coldwell Banker Success Realty and do commercial real estate with these residential associates? I think you'd fit in very well and have a great time. And I've had a great time ever since. And she's done such a great job as the commissioner.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And I don't always agree with, what transpires, but I have a lot of respect for, how things have evolved.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Well, believe it or not, Gary, we are at the end of the interview. I want to
Well,
thank you.
Well, good job, and thank you. It's been an honor to serve and been honored to be acquainted with you and all of the other volunteers and leaders, and I thank you very much.